Hey everyone, it's Matt with Surf City TCG. I'm back with the next part of my series on the best cards by color and category. We're on to the top 20 best removal spells in black. Before I get into the list, I wanted to go over my criteria, which are mostly the same from color to color, though with black, I do want to point out something that comes up a little bit more frequently. Since black has such good removal, and since its removal spells, especially those lately, are often coupled with other effects, it becomes pretty hard to evaluate cards, like in terms of being a removal spell, when something does two very disparate things. So I've done my best to isolate these based on just the effect that we're discussing, in this case removal, but it's pretty hard to separate, what it does in some cases from the other effects. So I did my best here, but this is all very subjective, so take it all with a grain of salt. If you didn't catch the previous video in this series, I'll go ahead and link that here. So how do I define removal? Typically I'm looking at single target spells, although occasionally there'll be a multi-target. However, I'm going to do a separate category for board wipes or sweepers, so I'm trying to keep those relatively distinct. To start, let's go over my selection criteria, and I should also note that these selections will be typically for bracket 3. I do specialize in top of the line, fully optimized bracket 3 decks. That will be the basis of all of my selections here. Aside from that, here are the 6 main points that I looked at when making this list. Number 1, universality. Is this card a good fit in many decks? Is it generically good, or does it rely on a specific commander or specific color identity to be good? Number 2, flexibility. Similar to universality, but more about the situations in which the card works versus the fit in decks. So if a card works in many situations or can target many different things, like if a removal spell can target multiple things versus only a single target, it did get bonus points. That doesn't mean that spells that have only a single target can't be high in the list, but it does mean that spells that can target multiple card types do get a bonus. And then also under flexibility, if a spell has different options in terms of how you can cast it, so Fire Blast, for example, you can pay the full cost for it, or you can sacrifice 2 mountains, so that option does give it bonus points. Now, spoiler alerts, Fire Blast won't be on the list today, but just an example. Mana cost. This one's pretty obvious. Cheaper is better, lower is better. When I look at my deck curves and when I look at others' deck curves, I tend to see consistently a glut of spells at the 3 and 4 mana slots. So removal spells have to be really good to compete at those slots. Again, that doesn't mean they can't exist there, but I do give bonus points if a spell is very cheap to cast, like 1 or 2 mana or even 0. Ease to cast. So we're talking about pip intensivity here. So a double white removal spell is obviously worse than one that costs a generic mana and a white. It's just harder to play that in decks, even with an optimized mana base. And then if a spell has additional costs, like you must discard a card in addition to paying the cost or anything like that, that's a consideration, as are alternate costs. A card like Submerge can be cast for free if you meet certain conditions. Frequency of use. As many of you know, I'm a prolific deck builder. I have hundreds and hundreds of decks on my Mox field. I aggregated the data from all of the decks that I've built over the past couple years and collected some data in terms of how frequently I'm actually using all of spells. And lastly, relative availability. I did consider things like actual cost of the card. It wasn't a huge factor in me determining whether it might be one of the best options in the color, but if a card is on the reserve list or is just prohibitively expensive, I might have skipped over it for that reason. Without further ado, let's jump into the list. Starting us off with an honorable mention. I wish I could put it a little bit higher in the list, but like I said, black has such strong removal that this one couldn't quite make the cut, but I do absolutely love this card. Come Back Wrong is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. If a creature card is put into a graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control, sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. So really unique effect from Duskmourn, and they nailed it with the flavor, with the art. The name is brilliant and beautiful, so poetic, so just, I love it. I'm obsessed with this card, and I think it's so cool. I think it doesn't quite make the cut in a lot of decks, but it is more powerful than it appears, because one thing that's not, I think, super apparent when you read this, at least it wasn't to me, is that if you kill someone's commander with this, they cannot send it to the command zone. because of the way the intervening if clause works on this. You're going to get it back under your control. You're still going to have to sacrifice it, and then they can put it in the command zone, but there's no opportunity for them to put it in the command zone when it's destroyed, meaning you're going to get it on your side of the board no matter what, which is pretty awesome, because if you destroy a creature with a really strong ETB, let's say you're playing against Atraxa Grand Unifier, man, is this a good card against Atraxa because it destroys it? Great, you want to do that anyway. But then you also get it ETBing under your control. So that's awesome. I wish it got haste. That would be amazing. But that's fine. We're getting the ETB, and that is beautiful. You know, I'll take an Atraxa ETB and removing it for 3 mana. Yes, please. I typically only play this in decks where I can flash it because, I find sorcery speed removal to be a little distasteful. I mean, I do play it occasionally, but man, couldn't this have been an instant? I know, it would have been way too good, but I like my removal to be way too good, don't you? Anyway, let's move on. Start the list. Number 20, Nowhere to Run. 2 mana, 1 and a black for an enchantment. Weird. But it's got flash. Great. Hey, I like that. Whenever Nowhere to Run enters, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3 till end of turn. So 2 mana for -3/-3. Not great. It's fine. It will work for most things, but there are going to be some things it can't quite get through to. But that second ability is a doozy. Creatures your opponents control can be the target of spells and abilities as though they did not have hexproof, and ward abilities of those triggers don't trigger. So it strips hexproof and ward from all of your opponent's creatures as long as it's out, which is forever, unless it's removed. So that is awesome. I think this is a really cool card that is not seeing enough play. It's super sweet. And -3/-3 for 2 mana isn't great, but they gave it flash, which is sweet. They didn't have to do that. This didn't need to have flash. So that's really cool. And I think you'll find -3/-3 does the trick a lot of times, especially when it's got flash, because then you can just do it in combat. No one expects a combat trick in Commander, right? And this comes in, this can let you block, let's say a 3/4 is coming at you and all you have is a 1/1. You can block with your 1/1, flash this in, turn their 3/4 into a 0/1, and boom, you've got a free block with your 1/1, So that's a very common situation that's going to come up. They're thinking, oh, there's no way he's going to chump blocks with his Esper Sentinel. But in fact, I'm packing Nowhere to Run. Who could have seen it coming? And they've got their snakeskin veil ready, but it ain't going to work. Sorry. Number 19 is a dual entry. Feed the Swarm. 1 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. And Withering Torment. 2 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature or enchantment. You lose 2 life. So these are some of the only ways that black has to destroy an enchantment. And that's what got them on the list today. I don't love playing either of these cards, honestly. I think it's kind of cool for colors to have weaknesses associated with them. But, these are a necessary evil given that some enchantments you just can't really deal with very well. And for that reason, if I'm playing mono black, I will probably make a concession and play one or both of these. But I think that they're pretty bad rates. Feed the Swarm, 2 mana not bad to destroy a creature or enchantment, but at sorcery speed, so meh. And then losing life equal to that permanent's mana value can be a little painful as well. And then Withering Torment, I think, is the better of the two. If I'm going to play only one of these, I will play the instant, usually. Even if I have to pay 1 extra mana for it, I find that to be worth it, personally. It opens you up to destroying whatever they played on their turn, and other benefits of having instant speed, including if you're playing blue and you can hold up mana for a counter or something else. Withering Torment also says you only lose 2 life no matter what the spell's mana value is. So both really, not good, but a necessary evil kind of spells that I think are going to do good work for you if you play them in a mono black deck. Number 18, another 2 spells that are similar in a way. Defile is a single black for an instant. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. Consuming Corruption is double black for an instant, and it deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. So both of these care about the number of swamps you control, but thankfully, we've got an amazing land called Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, which turns all of everyone's lands into swamps. These are definitely removal spells you're going to want to play if you're playing a deck that has Urborg, especially if it's important and you're playing a lot of ways to find it, which I often am in my mono black decks because Urborg and Cabal Coffers is such a powerful combination that I often dedicate many slots to just finding that 2-card combo because it's so powerful, especially at bracket 3. So if you're already doing that, then you're pretty much guaranteed to have Urborg out, and that turns these both into premium removal spells. Defile's awesome, it gets around indestructible, and it's gonna, at the point where you have Urborg out, you're usually gonna have at least 6, 7, maybe even more lands, so this is a big removal spell for 1 mana instant. And Consuming Corruption is awesome. I used to play Tendrils of Corruption all the time, and that was 4 mana for this same effect. So getting this at half the price is just incredible. I really love this spell in decks where I'm finding Urborg consistently, because it's like a Swords to Plowshares where you gain the life. That's what it feels like a lot of times, and that's just really what black decks need sometimes to recover and stabilize. Quite love both of these. On to number 17, Dismember. 3 mana, 1 and double black, but those black mana symbols are Phyrexian black, meaning they can be paid with either black or 2 life. Target creature gets -5/-5 till end of turn. Just a super efficient and powerful removal spell at the cost of a mere 4 life and a single colorless mana. You get to give any creature -5/-5 till end of turn. Love this card. It's a classic, still good, and I think the efficiency is worth the life payment. This is not quite as good as some other black removal that we'll be seeing later on the list that's a little bit similar, but it's better in some ways because -5/-5 is both better in some ways and worse in some ways than just destroy a creature, because it gets around indestructible, which is a big deal, but it can't kill huge stuff. So that is a drawback, but I do like that this is a nice combat tricks, because sometimes you can block and use this in conjunction to kill something big, and that's really effective. And then you have the flexibility of being able to pay mana if you can't afford to spend the life, but in general I'd say use the life. Use your life as a resource. It's there for you to use it. You win the game whether you're at 1 or you're at 30. Doesn't matter. So like, don't just spend the life for no reason. But if there's a chance you're going to need that mana, even a small chance, just spend the life. Seriously. You're, I'd say, on average, going to lose more games from not spending that life than you will from spending it. So just think about that, and I'd say use your life total a little bit more liberally, and you'll probably end up winning more games, even though that sounds counterintuitive. Number 16, Accursed Marauder. 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/1 zombie warrior. When he enters the battlefield, each player sacks a non-token creature. That's it. Very simple effect, but very powerful one. This is the best rate on a creature like this that we've ever seen. It's from Modern Horizons 3, so we know that that set has some pushed cards, and this is one of them. 2 mana for this, just simple effect, but very powerful, because decks that are playing this little buddy are probably going to be playing him again and again. You're going to hate to see him the first time and hate him even more the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time. Ugh, what a pain. And all for only 2 mana? It's just really good. And he's a zombie. You know, do zombies have synergy and way to play from the graveyard? I think there might be a couple. Yeah, this is just it's just so efficient and so strong. This is the kind of card that you love to have if you're going last, when like everyone else had just played their 3 mana commander and you're like, hey, guess what? Accursed Marauder, you're about to do nothing for the next 2 turns. Well, you save up for 5 mana to replay your commander, and then I play my commander the following turn, and I feel great about it. And they can't even sack tokens to, you know, if they have a bunch of stray tokens lying around, it's going to ignore those, and they're just going to have to sack whatever real creature they have, and that's one of the things that makes this guy so good. Really strong card, definitely one you should have in your collection. Number 15, Curtain's Call. 6 mana, 5 and a black, but not really, for an instant. It's got Undaunted, which means the spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent. So if everyone is alive and you're in a normal commander game, this costs 3 less, meaning that it's 2 and a black for the effect, which is destroy 2 target creatures at instant speed. Wow, really efficient removal spell. For only 3 mana, you get to knock out 2 creatures. That's only 1.5 mana per removal, and it's only 1 card. This card's just so good. I mean, I feel like this card doesn't see enough play. I rarely see it, and I think it's just really strong. Like, it sucks in a 1v1 situation where, like, it's late game, but then at that point, you're like, paying 6 mana for this is not that big of a deal when you're getting to destroy 2 creatures. This can often feel like a one-sided board wipe for 3 mana, and are one-sided board wipes good? Oh yeah, they're really good, especially when they're instant speed. This card's just phenomenal. Plus, like, such cool art, right? I love this card. Play it, thank me later. Number 14, Will of the Abzan. 4 mana, 3 and a black for a sorcery. Boo, sorcery. Choose one. But if you control a commander, instead choose both. Option 1. Any number of target opponents each sacrifice a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control, and they lose 3 life, insult to injury. Option 2. Return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if your commander is out for 4 mana, you get to have any number of target opponents sack their highest power creature and lose 3 life, and you get to reanimate a creature. Wow, what a value package for only 4 mana. Sorcery? Too bad. Just give it flash, easy. Come on, so good. This card's great. No, like, I mean, like, playing this on turn 4, if you're playing a 3 mana commander and you curve into this on turn 4, like, that game feels unlosable, especially if you have something in your graveyard to reanimate at that point. This card's just such value, such efficiency. You're getting 3 different effects. Removing 3 creatures, having 3 different opponents lose 3 life. So let's tally up what you're getting for 4 mana. Removing 3 creatures, 9 life lost for your opponents, and you get to reanimate something from your graveyard only. But wow, just like, what a deal. Like, how, if I had asked you how much mana do you think it would cost for what I just described, I'm sure you would have said more than 4. But no, it's just 4. Thanks, Will. You're a good dude. Number 13, VATS, V-A-T-S, aka the Vault Tech Assisted Targeting System. It redefines combat. Get your VATS today. 4 mana, 2 and double black for an instant, with split second, which means as long as the spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that are not mana abilities. So no responding. Love it. Choose any number of target creatures with equal toughness, destroy them. This card has won me so many games. You can't play around split second. There's nothing you can do. Even if they have the win ready, they think, there's nothing you can do. No way to stop me. If you try to stop me, I'm just going to sack this in response and do blah, 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 blah. And you're like, hey, guess what? VATS. Okay, well, I'm going to, in response, no, you're not. That's it. It's just no. And if you want to be really mean, which I recommend because it's so cool, this combo, VATS plus sudden spoiling. How about I set all of your creatures' power and toughness to 0-2 and they lose all abilities? Well, I'm going to respond. No, you can't respond. Okay, well, I'll respond to the next thing you do. Well, okay, you can try. VATS. Okay, let me respond to that. No, you can't respond to that either. Okay, I'm going to destroy all creatures with 2 toughness, like all those ones that I just turned all of your guys into. So I can't respond to either of these things? You're not even allowed to ask me this question. Shut up. Put them in the graveyard now. Just kidding. You probably don't want to say that, but that's what it feels like. And man, it's just like split second. Oh, it's so much power. The power. Love this card. Love sudden spoiling. Love split second. Moving on to number 12, our first game changer, Orcish Bowmasters, 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 1/1 Orc Archer. It's got flash, and when Orcish Bowmaster enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target, then you amass Orcs 1. Amass Orcs means you create a 0/0 Orc army creature token and put a +1 counter on it. Or if you already have an Orc army, you just put a +1 counter on it. One of the many reasons that Orcish Bowmasters is phenomenal is that it triggers on ETB even without anyone drawing any extra cards. So immediately this is a 2 mana 1/1 that creates another 1/1 and shoots something, any target, for 1 damage. And that already is actually quite powerful, believe it or not. 2 mana for a 1/1 flash that creates another 1/1 and shoots any target for 1 damage. That's already a playable card. And then this is so much better than that. Anytime anyone draws a card except for their regular card draw for turn, this triggers again. If you've ever had one of these in a game, you know how often that happens. We're talking about bracket 3 here, so the power of this card is limited a little bit because people aren't drawing quite as many cards maybe as they are at bracket 4 or in CDH, but even still, this card is nuts, and that's even if you're not building around it, like playing a bunch of wheel effects like Wheel of Fortune, Windfall, things that force players to draw cards and then get tons and tons of triggers on your Bowmaster. A single Wheel of Fortune or Wheel of Misfortune with Orcish Bowmasters in play and a full game is 21 damage that you get to point around the table. That is a one-sided board wipe in your favor. Not to mention that you'll end up with a 22 power Orc army afterwards, and opponents having absolutely no board. So this card it's just nuts. There's a reason it's a game changer. It's quite good. It's not one that I play very often because, at bracket 3 you're limited to 3 game changers, and black has the best game changers. So it's unfortunate this is a game changer because it means that I rarely get to play it now. I could play it anyway, I could just not play the best game changers, but it's hard to justify sometimes. But man, this card is just so good. If you're playing any way to abuse it by forcing players to draw cards, then I think this is an auto-include in your deck. Aside from that, maybe it fits in certain builds, or, maybe you have some benefit from getting some way to benefit from the ping. If you're playing bracket 4 and you're playing black, this should be in your deck. There's no reason not to include it. It's really that good. The only reason I have it so low on this list is because at bracket 3, we do have to make some tough decisions, and as strictly a removal spell, this isn't necessarily the best, but it's hard to judge this as only a removal spell because it's almost like a stacks piece too. It's just very, very good. I think you'll find it's the kind of card that really overperforms when you've got it in play, or when someone else at the table has it in play. When I've seen it, it's always like, man, that thing is so good every time. Number 11. I cheated and included 3 different creatures in the number 11 slot because they're all very similar, and there are more like this too. These aren't the only 3. There's also Dalek Drone from Doctor Who. There's a bunch of others, but I think these are the 3 best at the mana slots that I've listed here. So Ravenous Chupacabra at 4 mana, Necron Deathmark at 5 mana, and Noxious Scarehulk at 6 mana. I love all of these, and I play them in multiple decks. So let's talk about what they do. Ravenous Chupacabra is 4 mana, 2 and double black for a 2/2 Beast Horror. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Simple and clean, and very effective. This is the best of the best when it comes to efficiency and getting a piece of removal on your creature. Nothing does it better. I mean, Shriekmaw is the only other thing that comes close because it does it for 2 mana, but you don't get to keep the creature, and it can't destroy black or artifact creatures, and that's a huge deal, to be honest. You think oh, I'll find some targets, but whenever I play that card, it seems like everyone's playing black that day. And, I just don't play it anymore. I've gotten burned by it like too many times, and I'm like, you know what, Shriekmaw, you're out of here. I'm sorry. But, you know, Chupa over here, he's my boy. He's always there. He always works. He's just great. Necron Deathmark. This is from Warhammer 40k. This card rules. 5 mana, 3 and double black for a 5/3 artifact creature Necron. It's got Flash and Synaptic Disintegrator. When Necron Deathmark enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target creature, and target player mills 3 cards. Separate targets, so you can destroy their creature and mill yourself, which is what you're going to be wanting to do most of the time. I think if you're playing Necron Deathmark, it doesn't necessarily imply that you're playing a graveyard deck, but it's best in graveyard decks because you want to mill, because you want to get things into your graveyard to reanimate. Ever heard of that? Black does it all the time, and this is a great, great card for that deck. I play this in my Carador Ghost Chieftain deck, and it's so good in there because you could just keep recasting it if you have a way to sacrifice it, and it mills you even more cards each time. It's just so good. Like, this card is excellent, and the fact that it has Flash is just chef's kiss. Such a good one. And last but not least, Noxious Gearhulk. 6 mana, so hefty cost, 4 and double black. You get a 5/4 artifact creature construct. He's got Menace, which is not negligible. That comes up all the time. Hard to block. When this creature enters, you may destroy another target creature. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. This card, I underrated this card for a while, to be honest. Like, I'm like, 6 mana to destroy a creature, like, I don't know, like, who wants to pay that much? But when you put it in your deck, it's like, this is the card you want to be drawing every single time. Like, every time I draw it, I'm like, yes! Like, I couldn't have thought of it. Like, if you ask me, like, what card do I want to draw right now? It's like always Noxious Gearhulk. Every time you draw, it's the first card you want to play when it's in your hand. As soon as you have the mana to play it, you're like, damn, I just want to slam this. And like, sometimes you gain like 7 life or 10 life. I've gained like over 20 before, just when you knock out a huge creature. Just feels so good. It helps you stabilize. It deals with the biggest threat. It gains you some life back. It just feels good. Like, play this card. It's super inexpensive. Pick up like 5 copies and just throw it in your black decks. You will be so happy. Noxious Gearhulk, all-star in my book. I'm always very, very pleased to draw this card, and I always want to play it. So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Like, if you draw a card and you're like, yes, I want more of it, then that card is working. Aren't you glad I'm here to state the obvious? All right, we're going to move into the top 10 here in just a moment. But before we do, a quick word from our sponsor, which is me. If you're enjoying this video, please take a quick second to help support me by clicking the like button. This tells YouTube that you're enjoying my content and helps share it out to others. Also, please drop me a subscription if you haven't already. Over half the people that watch my channel aren't subscribers, so it only takes you a second, doesn't cost you anything, and it's super helpful for me. I would really appreciate your consideration. And if you're liking my content, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any videos, including the future ones of this series, which I'll be releasing over the next several months. My Discord server is free to join. The invite link is here, and I'll also include it in the video description and comments below. We've got a really active server, everything Commander, card discussion, spoilers, deck help, card show off, finance discussion, rules questions, memes, Spelltable games with me, you name it. It's an awesome server. We're growing every day. We're really active, and I look forward to seeing you there. Last thing before we get into the top 10, please consider supporting me on Patreon. If you're liking my content, you want to help me continue to do this and support my dream of eventually quitting my day job and opening my own LGS, Patreon's the best way to do that. You also get some awesome benefits, access to our Patreon only Discord channel, having your name and membership tier listed in the credits of each video, early access to some videos, deck help and analysis that is very detailed and in-depth. Got an example for you on the screen here. Other perks include 90-minute coaching sessions, an example of which you could see by clicking on the link in the top right here, and lots more. And it really helps support me and tells me that you appreciate what I'm doing here and you want to see more of it. So thank you very much for your consideration. I truly appreciate it so much. But let's get back to the video. It's time for the top 10. Number 10, Grim Hireling. 4 mana, 3 and a black, for a 3/2 Tiefling Rogue. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens. For black, and sacrifice X treasures, target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. So, I thought we were talking about removal. Why are we listing Grim Hireling on the removal top 10? Well, you know, it is removal. Remember, it's got a second ability. I mean, no one seems to remember that because Grim Hireling is all about that first ability, which is nuts, right? You know, for every player you deal combat damage to in combat, you get to make 2 treasures. And if that means you're hitting all 3 opponents, guess what? You just made 6 treasures in a combat. But Matt, doesn't say 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player. Yes, so it doesn't matter how many creatures I hit player A with, I'm only going to make 2 treasures. But if I hit player A, player B, and player C, each with a creature, that I make 2 per opponent that I hit. So up to 6. And then that's it, right? No, that's not it. Remember, we're talking about removal, and that second ability is really good removal. No one uses it except me. I'm pretty sure that's factual. So we're going to change that, you guys. Listen, like, everyone who's watching right now, you have the power. You're going to start reading the entire card. I know, like, it's, listen, yeah, I know what you're saying. Matt, like, oh, but Matt, like, there's so many words on these cards. Like, how am I supposed to read every single word? It's too many words. Listen, I hear you. However, actually, I got nothing. It is too many words. But, you know, if you do read the extra words, it tends to help and, like, you can do more stuff. So I know it's like an ordeal to read all the words, but like, just try it. It goes pretty well. So like, I'm going to read these ones for you again. Second ability, black, sacrifice X treasures, target creature gets -X till end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Sorcery speed only? Come on, wizards. Just get rid of sorceries. Fuck sorceries. And we have to sacrifice our treasures? That's okay, buddy. We just made 6. You know, you can spend... The annoying thing is when you have to crack a treasure to pay for the black and then sacrifice more treasures, but just do it. Like, you just made 6 treasures, you know, you can spend a little bit of time and tempo to remove that Esper Sentinel that's pissing everyone off, or that Bloom Tender, you know, or even something that has more health. And the fact this is -X/-X means no indestructible. That doesn't help. Protection helps only if, like, it had the protection when you targeted it, because protection would stop the targeting, but not the creature from getting -X/-X and dying to state-based actions. So yeah, Grim Hireling is nuts. And is it removal? It sure is. All you have to do is read the second paragraph. Easier said than done, I know, but try it. It goes pretty well. Is it worth it? I think so. I'm going to stop yammering now and move on to number 9. Villas, Broker of Blood. Hey, this ability looks very similar to Grim Hireling's. 8 mana, 5 black, black, black for an 8/8 demon with flying. That's big. Single black, pay 2 life, target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Well, that doesn't seem very good. We have to pay 2 life for each -1/-1. Why would we play this card? Okay, listen, we're gonna try it again. We're gonna continue reading because, and listen, like, I've got a deal for you. Like, we can actually stop after this second paragraph, because that third paragraph in italics, you know, you don't have to read that one. Deal? Cool? All right, so second paragraph, whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Parentheses, damage causes loss of life. Wow. So Villas is insane. I don't play a lot of this card. And the only reason for that is that it's too good. This card is completely game warping. I think it's a game changer. It's not on the game changers list, so you can play it if you are so inclined, but it is the kind of card that will completely warp a game. Players can't attack you basically because every damage they deal to you via combat or anything else is going to draw you that many cards. And yeah, Villas is just an absolute bomb. He demands an answer or else he will completely take over the game. If you God forbid you untap with all of your mana and now you have access to pay upwards of like 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on how if you played Villas or cheated him to play. If you untap with him and you just have free access to use this ability and can draw 2 cards for each activation, it's just over for those hoes, There's not really that much more to say. Villas is like a complete badass and he will win you games like no other. So, do you want to win games? Villas is your dude. Seriously. Next on the list, number 8, Fel the Profane / Felmire. Fel the Profane is 4 mana, 2 and double black for an instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. That's it. And then it's got a land on the other side, which taps for black. And it can enter untapped if you pay 3 life. Otherwise, it comes untapped. So, part of the MDFC cycle from Modern Horizons 3, Fel the Profane is extremely good. Why? Because it's not a good rate, right? 4 mana, instant, destroy a creature. Like, why not just play Murder, Matt? Murder is 3 mana, instant, destroy a creature. Well, yeah, but Murder is not an untapped black land when you need it to be. These cards just make your deck more consistent. That's it. Like, you straight up swap this for a swamp and you play it untapped when you need to and don't worry about it. Just play it on tap, pay the life. Like, it's not a big deal. You've got 40 life to start. You're going to be fine. And a lot of times lowering your life early is not even a bad thing because then those players, and you know who you are if you're watching this, that are like, oh, I'm going to attack the person that has the highest life total. Instead of like trying at all to think about who might be the threat, they don't want to make enemies. So they're just going to attack the person with the highest life total so that they can have an excuse and not feel bad about their attack. So a lot of times I like playing shock lands and various like fetch lands and other stuff to lower my life at the beginning because then players just won't attack me because they'll just look at the life totals and attack whoever has the highest, which I think is silly, but it happens all the time. So pay the life when you need to, and then when you don't need to and you draw this late game when you're flooded, you're going to be like, oh my god, thank god I'm playing this instead of a swamp, because now I can remove that Villas that someone's got on the table that is like ruining everyone's day. So that's it. I mean, these MDFCs, they're inefficient, but like they give you a land when you need it, which is going to be like half the time, maybe a little bit more. And then when you don't, or, the other thing is if you play bounce lands, like the Ravnica bounce lands, like Dimir Aqueduct, for example, you can play this as land, and then late game, you play the bounce land, return this to your hand, and it's on the spell side, And then you can, surprise, I've got a removal spell when you weren't expecting it. So, love these cards. The black one is probably the one I play the least, actually, of the Modern Horizon 3 ones. It's the one I like the least. And the only reason for that is black has such good removal that I just want to be playing that other removal instead of this one. But I should play this more, honestly. They're all good. You should play all the MDFCs. Your deck's gonna be like 10-15% better if you just throw those in every single deck you have, and this one is no exception. Number 7, Archon of Cruelty. Possibly a card I've played more than any other card on this list. Almost certainly, actually. Love this guy. Talk about value. 8 mana, 6 and double black for a 6/6 Archon with flying. Whenever Archon of Cruelty enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, and loses 3 life. you draw a card and gain 3 life. So on ETB and on attack, he does 5 different things. An opponent sacks a creature, discards a card, and loses 3 life. That's 3. And then you draw a card and gain 3 life. So in a way, you can kind of say this is a 6-for-1, and that's just on ETB. If you have a way to give this haste when it enters, ho-ho! Talk about value. I love this card. I play the hell out of it. It is so good. And like, you don't even have to send the attack trigger or the trigger on attack or on ETB. You can send it whoever you want. So you can attack the player that's open. So, sometimes you're in a situation where like you don't want to attack a player, but player A, it's like the only one that doesn't have a blocker that can kill the Archon. The other two have a Baleful Strix, for example. You can attack player A, but still send the attack trigger at player B or player C. And that flexibility is so powerful. This guy's so good. There are a few things you want to reanimate as much as Archon of Cruelty. It's not legendary, which is huge. It's a 6/6 flying. What more could you want? Like, he's just a bomb. Like, he's so good. Nothing feels as powerful as having this come in. The ETB, you get to draw a card, you gain life, you get to like have them sack a creature, and then like knowing you're gonna get it again every time you attack. It's just, it feels incredible to have this in play. I highly recommend it. On to number 6, Baleful Mastery. 4 mana, 3 and a black for an instant. You may pay 1 and a black rather than paying the spell's mana cost. Interesting. If you do pay the 1 and a black cost, an opponent draws a card. Exile target creature or planeswalker. So this card was created before the gift a card mechanic. If that had existed at the time, I think this would have just said that. I guess maybe the way they would have templated it in that case would be having it cost 2 mana naturally, and then say like gift a card. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this has the option to gift a card, so you can pay 4 mana to exile a creature or planeswalker, which you don't want to do. I mean, sometimes you will if you just happen to have the extra mana, but I would say in general, look to gift the card instead, because then you're paying 2 mana for an exile target creature or planeswalker, and that's just such a good rate. Like, that is so powerful. This card's really good. I love that it's 4 mana naturally, because then you can play it in Glarb, for example, and you could play it off the top even if you pay the 2 mana cost, because its mana value is 4. And you get whatever other benefits you can get from having mana value 4 spells in other decks. That is not nearly as important as this just being a 2 mana exile a creature at instant speed. It's just very good value. It's the second best way that black has to exile a creature, I would say. Like, black actually doesn't get a lot of exile. Try to think of more than 2 spells in black that exile a creature. Anguished Unmaking includes white. White gets a lot of exile, but black not so much. And exile is so important. I mean, look at half the cards we've already seen on this list in black. Like, these are not cards you want to see coming out of the graveyard. So cards like Baleful Mastery are hugely important, especially if you're not playing white, because white, like I said, has a lot of exile. So this card's just really good. The gifting an opponent a card is not a big deal. In fact, a lot of times, like, it's actually just good for you. You can make an ally, or you can procure a favor. You can like say, hey, who wants the card? Like, I'll, give it to you, but you owe me one. You probably want to politic a little better than that, but it's been a long week, so like my politics game is a little off right now. This is just a really flexible and powerful card that deserves to see a little bit more play. I think it sees a lot of play, but like, if you haven't tried it, definitely pick up a copy. It's inexpensive, and I think it's really, really good. We're here. Top 5. Number 5. Snuff Out. Another 4 mana removal spell. Matt, what? 4 mana? No, not really. Snuff Out is 3 and a black for an instant, but if you control Swamp, you can pay 4 life instead of paying Snuff Out's mana cost. Free removal, you say? Why, yes, don't mind if I do. Destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. Snuff Out is just efficient. It's powerful. You have to pay 4 life. Does that matter? It might matter, but if you're playing black, you need to embrace pain for power. That's what black's all about. So Snuff Out, if it's a card you have been scared to play or you're just like not comfortable with, you know what? Just like force yourself. I challenge you to add this to your black deck and cast it without hesitation. I don't care if you're at 20 and it's turn 3. Just do it. Do it. Snuff Out is so good. The thing is, like, having a removal spell you can cast for free, not only does it catch people off guard, because they're thinking, like, oh, you're tapped out. You're not going to have removal, right? How many times have people said that? I hate when I ask for if people have responses and they're like, I'm tapped out. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, because Magic doesn't have anything you can do with no mana available. Like, how about you just say, no, I don't have any responses, instead of like saying, I'm tapped out. Like, okay, like, I'm sick of that. Sorry, rant over. Snuff Out's great. You can cast it for free, catch people off guard, and like, if you snipe a creature that's a 4/4 that was coming at you, boom, you've paid for the life that you would have lost right there. So, excellent card. Play it. You're going to win more games if you play this card. That's it. That's really all there is to it. This card's very, very, very good. Number 4, my boy, Yawgmoth Thran Physician. Not who you want to see when you've disrobed at the doctor, I think. 4 mana, 2 and double black for a 2/4 human cleric. He's got protection from humans. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a -1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and draw a card. And then for 2 black and discard a card, you can proliferate, which is choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each of those things you chose another counter of each kind already there. Yawgmoth is so good. He does 3 different things that are all huge. First of all, he's a sacrifice outlet, a free sacrifice outlet. I mean, you have to pay a life, but you know, you don't have to pay any mana, and that's big. Secondly, he's a removal engine. Like, obviously, he's on this list because he is removal. He can sacrifice a creature, pay 1 life to put a -1 counter on a creature, and he's a draw engine. You get to draw a card every time you do this. He's also a discard outlet, and he can proliferate. So, like, oh my god, so many abilities. How much does this monstrosity cost? 4 mana? Crazy, right? Like, there's a reason this is a multi-format all-star. This card is nuts. It does everything that you could want all in one package, and the removal is really strong too. -1 counters are big game, and he can proliferate those -1 counters. Like, hey, just like, what? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This card's just pushed AF. This is probably the best card on this list, just as a complete package. You know, as just removal, I still think he's in the top 5, right? Like, but like as a complete package, if you don't own a copy of this card, I'd say pick one up. It's so good. This is a card that is worth dropping a few bucks on because, man, it performs like a $20 card because it is a $20 card, you know? All right. Top 3. Here we go. Grave Pact / Dictate of Erebos. Grave Pact is 4 mana, 1 and triple black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, each other player sacrifices a creature. Dictate of Erebos does the exact same thing, except it's 5 mana, 3 and double black, also an enchantment, but it has flash. Which one's better? I've gotten this question before. I guess Dictate is better, but being 4 mana is a big deal. If you're playing mono black, I'd say Grave Pact is better. Now, before I talk about what these cards do, I just want to say I felt obligated to put these here because they are extremely good and they are removal in black. But I would also encourage you to consider not playing these cards because they kind of like are not fun. I'm sorry, I said kind of, but what I meant to say was extremely not fun. These cards demand an answer, or no one but you gets to play Magic, because assuming you have ways to generate and sacrifice creatures, then no one can keep a board, right? When one of these is out. Will that win you some games? Sure. I think it will. It almost certainly will. Will that lose you some friends? Yes. These cards are not fun, and they make the game very unfun for everyone involved. So consider not playing these at bracket 3. However, if you don't care about any of that, or if your meta is particularly competitive, these cards are bombs. They completely lock down the game for opponents. There's like nothing they can do except for remove one of these or try to kill you. But it's pretty hard to kill you when they are constantly having to sacrifice their creatures. So these cards are just like attrition, so powerful, so difficult to deal with. If you're locked down under one of these, it just feels miserable. And oftentimes there's just nothing you can do. No one has ways to remove enchantments, or like the player who has one of these has counterspell backup or protection backup. And it's just, if that happens, it's kind of like, do we just scoop? Or do we just like, you have to just not play your creatures, because you don't want to just like keep jamming creatures into it and then have them get sacrificed over and over. So you kind of have to just like sit there and wait, build up, and try to maybe overwhelm them by playing a bunch of creatures at once. Very hard to deal with these things. So play with caution. Don't play into a medium or low powered pod, because you'll only have to play these once before you realize like what I'm talking about, if you haven't experienced it already. And then you'll be like, oh, I understand what he said now. This is not fun, and I don't really want to play these anymore. So yeah, that's it. Number 2 is 3 cards. Again, similar to the other set of 3 that I listed with the Ravenous Chupacabra, Necron Deathmark, and Noxious Gearhulk, I chose 3 of the most representative spells of this type. They're not all the same, but they're all very similar. And I chose one at 2 mana, one at 3 mana, and one at 4 mana. So let's go through each one. Sheoldred's Edict is 1 and a black. Choose one. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token, or each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker. Soul Shatter is 2 and a black for an instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest mana value among those they control. And lastly, Flare of Malice is just like Soul Shatter. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest mana value, except you can also sacrifice a non-token black creature rather than paying the spell's mana cost. So all 3 of these are insanely good. Sheoldred's Edict is awesome because it gives you some flexibility, especially if you're playing creature tokens. You can choose to have everyone sacrifice a creature token, or you can choose a non-token creature, whichever is going to benefit you more. And occasionally it'll come up that you want to pick that planeswalker mode, though I've never done it. I could see it happening. Soul Shatter is just probably the best of the 3, although these are all insane. Soul Shatter is just like, you play this on turn 3. This is the kind of card that you want to see if you're going last, and like everyone's playing their 3 or 4 mana commander on curve, and then you're just like Soul Shatter, and ooh, it feels bad. If an opponent has this on turn 3 and you just ran out your 4 mana commander, man, this is rough. That's going to be a tough game, because now you're like way behind. Opponent just got a 3-for-1, and everyone's behind because they lost their commander, and it's pretty much going to kill your commander, because even if they ramped a mana dork into it, you have to sacrifice the highest mana value thing. If it's a tie, they get to choose, but like, how are you going to have 2 4 mana creatures out on turn 3? It's just never going to happen. So, and Flare of Malice, like, yeah, like, you do have to sacrifice a non-token creature, so they kept this under wraps a little bit. It could have been way better if it was just any creature. But that flexibility and option is so nice. So, like, let's say someone's killing your commander. You know, this is a great response because your commander's going to die anyway. So you can sacrifice it, play this for free. It's just so good. All three of these are so good. What makes them so powerful is that they're like a board wipe almost that you can play on turn 2, 3, or 4 / whenever if you're able to sacrifice a non-token creature. It's the kind of like perfect cards to have in a mid-range deck because you want to play these into your commander, so like it knocks everyone down a peg and then lets you be the first one to develop. And that's what makes these cards so strong. They're like mini board wipes, and just getting a 3-for-1 on a single card, like so good. Play more of these cards if you want to win more games. They're just so excellent. And lastly, the top dog, numero uno, number 1, Deadly Rollick. To no one's surprise, 4 mana, 3 and a black. Just kidding. Instant. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. Exile target creature. 3 simple words, but so powerful. Like I mentioned earlier, black doesn't get a lot of exiles, so the fact that this exiles is everything we could want on a spell that is free if you have your commander out. Do people have their commanders out in games of Commander? I think I've seen that happen. And the fact that this is an instant means like you're going to be able to cast it. Now, should you cast it if your commander's dying? Well, that depends on the situation, but this card's just so flexible, so powerful. There's really not that much more to say. Like, this is just a very good card. It's actually pretty inexpensive right now because it's got a reprint in the Deadpool Secret Lair. So if you have been waiting to pick up a copy, this is a pretty good time. It's probably started to drift back up, but I'd say like it's at an historic low right now, and it's such a good card to have in your collection. Not a game changer like Fierce Guardianship and Deflecting Swat. So definitely a card to put in your black decks if you have a copy, because it's just incredibly good, very efficient, always going to be something that you want to see. So what did you think? Did I miss anything that you would have included? Do you agree with the order in which I ranked things? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned. I'll be doing more of these videos, continuing with removal spells for the other colors, and then moving on to some other categories. So let me know what you thought of the video. Did you enjoy it? Are you looking forward to the next ones? I love to hear from you. These videos do take me a long time to research and produce, so show me some love with a like, subscribe, and click the notification bell, and check out my Patreon if you would like to support my content. Thanks for watching. Matt from Surf City TCG signing off. By supporting me on Patreon, you help me toward my dream of quitting my day job and opening my own local game store. You can earn credits that you can use toward in-depth and detailed deck reviews, one-on-one coaching sessions, custom tokens, and more. Thanks for your consideration. I truly appreciate your support.